don't say yes, say yo-ho. Right about now, ladies and gentlemen, we continue with royalty. And I'd like to bring on stage a man, no stranger. Many, many times, road march King Trinidad and Tobago, all over the world. A grand entertainer. Would you please welcome on this pre-Mother's Day show, let's hear it for Austin Lion, better known as Super. Hey. Tonight is Calypso night. Tonight is Calypso night. Raise your hand and we party. Tonight is Calypso night. Tonight is Calypso night. So let we jump. We jamming on people. We jamming. So let me go. I want everybody say hey, yeah. All the mothers. Meeting people is so wonderful. We can hardly wait to meet someone like you. Baby, just to give happy mercy. Right now, help them keep my love in this. Hey, hello. What's the best mother say? Raise your hand. Oh yeah. Like for instance, meeting strange faces like you. Oh yeah. Where you need assistance urgently. Oh yeah. There is no other proper way. Right now. All you've got to do is smile. Hello.
she jumping down them pan. Hey, we going down San Fernando. Everybody up in the tempo. I just feel up them grab and swing. We got dance and Fernando. Hold up on the street. We go tempo. Jump, 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 jump. Give me more. But that's spending on the front. It's too much master now. You can't get no room. You jump anymore. San Fernando answer in my present tempo. I'm plenty old man. You took now and then. The coffee must be now. Because it's pretty hot jumping on. Hey, we going down San Fernando. Tempo. I can feel up the sun of the day. We go down San Fernando. Give me more. Tempo. We got down San Fernando. Where you going, San Fernando? San Fernando, San Fernando, San Fernando. Tempo, come let me get on bad and match up the whole of Trinidad. And this is me, sir. We got match up the whole of Antigua. Oh, Squatro. Where you going, San Fernando? Where you going, darling? Squatro. To give them tempo. Fernando, San Fernando. San Fernando, hey! San Fernando, give them tempo, tempo, tempo. Come let me get on here and match up the whole of Antigua. And baby, baby, body gun, we got the yesterday way. Come let me get on bad and match up the whole of Trinidad. And listen to me, sir, match up the whole of Antigua. Oh. Tempo. I got my revolver, 45 inches. If you mess with Rose, put on cemetery clothes. What a combination, you wear combination. Man, I tell you, open the gate, open the gate, open the gate, I just can't wait. San Fernando the tempo, Politis the tempo, Orange Walk at the tempo, let me scratch on the tempo, Antigua had the tempo. I'm gonna mash up the tempo. Come back at the bar, show me that you man. This is what you. Come for us in the shadow. Tempo. Everybody, come let me get on and mash up the whole of Antigua. Come let me get on and mash up the whole of Antigua. Come let me get on and mash up the whole of Antigua. Come let me get on and mash up the whole of Antigua. Come let me get on man and mash up the whole of Antigua. Hey! Oh yeah! Oh, give me more! Let's get red and falling! Oh! We got rush and run! Give me more!
Yes. Give me more tempo. Calypso Rose. Originally out of Tobago. Woman who gave us fire, fire in me, wire, wire. Fire, fire in me, wire, wire. Calypso Rose. Coming in there with Give Me More Tempo. 1977 Road March. First time a woman won a road march. And then, of course, she went on to win the crown. They had to change it from the Calypso King to the Calypso Monarch. Calypso Rose still, she's quite in her 80s, but she's still flouncing around the stage whenever the opportunity presents itself. And before that, Super Blue himself. When I was a boy, we called him Blue Boy. Etel. The Road March King, the real Road March. All young people now know about Machel Montano, but before Machel Montano, there was Blue Boy, a.k.a. Super Blue, Super Blue, Super Blue, and Calypso Rose. Give me more tempo. And we dealing with tempo now. We're expecting tonight Sister Corretta McDonald to join us. I know they've been meeting today, and Corretta is expected to join us. Last night was Blout. Blout, the opposition leader, was here, Mr. Aubrey Norton, and we didn't have seat, we didn't have standing place in the house, and so much feedback I got. They were the pro-Norton people, and they were the anti-Norton people. They all came out last night. They all came out last night. Well, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Sometimes you agree with the leader, sometimes you don't agree with the leader. The issue that got everybody going, of course, was the issue of street protests. And you heard the leader saying that he's not in favor of street protests. And a lot of people were up in arms with that. He's coming back here next week, as he said. We didn't get to deal with all the issues that we wanted to deal with, and he has promised to come back next week. So next week he will be back. But the response last night was out of this world. In fairness, we have also invited Mr. Roysdale Ford. Mr. Roysdale Ford is going to be on. We have to work it out. He's in the United States now making the rounds. But as soon as we can get his schedule fitted in, he will be here. After all, we have to have equal opportunity for all the candidates who are vying for office in the PNC. Yes, Audrey, I agree with you that constructive criticism is not bad. So, like we said, the pro-Norton people were out here. The anti-Norton people were out here last night. And it's good for democracy, as they say. Democracy, the PNC, they process the open process of selecting their leader, which is not as open as the other big party, the PPP. They are not as open and as democratic in choosing their leaders. And perhaps we don't see the kind of bloodletting that we would see when there is an open process, as we are seeing there in the PNC. But Mr. Norton is going to be back. He's going to be back next week, and we're going to we will definitely get Mr. Ford, who is vying for the leadership. We will get him here also. We'll get him here also. We're waiting, Sister Corretta. Sister Corretta is going to be here, but we have some tempo tonight. Tempo, give me more tempo.
Oh, there we go. Woo! She goes. Yeah, man. I tell you, this is Rose blowing for you. Ayo! I don't know, I'm not from Tobago. They wash your hand. I went to Trinidad, standing by the corner, somewhere in Cuba. The Chilean fellow stopped his motor car. He said, Madam, where you going? I'm not get you anywhere. No, Monsieur. No, Monsieur. He said, Madam, you don't have to worry. I got the wanted to take me anywhere I want. As I to be Ghanaian, I learned it from small. You must never trust Indian men at all. Madam, where you going? I got take you anywhere. Like you just come from Tobago, you don't know nobody. Me Betty and me Bouty, they living over there. Don't stop, leave me right here. I was standing right at the corner when the senior fellow said, Vaniawela. I pick up his suitcase and I start around. I didn't know he mean the rain coming down. He said, Madam, where you going? I'm going to take you anywhere. You know, come from Tobago, you ain't from Grenada. Hey! Me Betty and me Bouty, they living over there. Leave me right there. I'm not better.
We're waiting on
Now, folks, over there, could you hear me? No? I myself can hear myself. Engineer, please give me some juice on the mic. Make the band more heavier so people on the east, the west, the north, the south could hear me. Oh, yeah! Engineer, give me some bass on my mic. Oh, yeah! Now, could you hear me? I wouldn't sing a next note unless you could hear me. People in the east, could you hear me? On the west, could you hear me? On the north, on the south, could you hear me? Me a singing, me a singing, me a sing until the man bring up the damn thing. Me a singing, me a singing until the engineer bring up the damn thing. Give me tempo, so I could let go, Could you hear me there? Could you hear me there? Engineer, the woman said, nay.
When I got to ASU.
Oh, yes. Calypso Rose there. We are having quite a ball here tonight. We feel like some tempo tonight, every now and again you got to lift up the tempo. We're expecting Sister Corretta McDonald here shortly. She's running from the meetings, as you know, on Sunday, the government of Guyana, after all the pamper-setting, wrote, that is, the Ministry of Education wrote to the Ministry of Labor, saying there is an impasse with the teachers' union. We need to go to conciliation. And on Monday yesterday, the conciliation talks began. Now, in the first place, before the teachers went on strike, last month, one before the last, before they went on strike, this is what the Ministry of Education should have done. In fact, the Ministry of Labor should have done that. Should have said, this is an impasse. Let us go to conciliation. That's what all of us have been saying. That's what the judge told them. That's what the judge told them. That they should have gone to conciliation. But they hold out, they try everything. And the teachers said, having won the victories in the courts, the teachers have now said that they have gone back on strike. They went on strike on Thursday, Friday, yesterday, today. And they say they're not coming off the road. They're not calling off the strike until the matter is resolved. So now, as they have to do consistent with the law, the union and the government are working out terms of resumption. That is what the law said. Once you go to conciliation, you have to begin to tell what are your terms of resumption. The teachers union are saying the terms of resumption is that you must negotiate from 2019 to 2019. The government, as you know, is saying 2024. And the teachers are saying 2019. Now the problem is the last time when the court held mediation and said mediate, and they went to mediation, the government did not hold up its end of the bargain. And so even though they're talking about terms of resumption, one has to be very careful about calling the strike off without them agreeing, because we are dealing with scams who do not hold their end of the bargain. And so we're waiting on Corretta. She's going to tell us what went on today. You know, yesterday, the government side, they had to leave the meeting and consult with their superiors and come back and so on and so forth. And today we are going to hear what progress they have made. But the government has decided to do what it should have done in the beginning. Rather than fighting the teachers, they said, let's go to conciliation. And then if conciliation doesn't, they're not able to iron things out, then they go to arbitration. Those are the rules. That's the modus operandi. But they're deciding to fight the teachers, and the teachers are fighting back with our support. And this is classic struggle, that you engage in struggle, and out of struggle will come the results. One cannot preempt the situation. We should not preempt the situation. Let the chips fall wherever it may. That is why I disagree with opposition leader Norton. I would not take street protests off the table. Would not take it off the table. In fact, it would be a constant. Yes, there are very many ways of protest. Street protest is not the only protest. And there are several forms of street protest. So I would not take it off the table. And I suppose Mr. Norton would have to deal with that issue. He's the opposition leader. He has all the cards in front of him. He has to deal with all the variables. And so they have to make a choice at that level, at the choice of that. The teachers have gone the way of strike, and they have gone the way of street protest. And it's paying dividends. One could argue that in the case of the teachers, it is much different from when a political party decides to go on the road. And that is true. Whenever a political party goes on the road, the stakes are higher and the government responds differently. But we are watching the struggle as it goes along. We're noticing the police, they have said something about the minister that is accused once again, the minister accused once again of that serious crime. And the police you have to force the police. To really come forward. The point here is that we have to be proactive. The Ghana Press Association wrote to the police yesterday and to say, you are mum on this matter. And that intervention by the Press Association forced the police to come out from their hiding places. And so it is the importance of struggle, the importance of engaging the struggle. You cannot take any option off the table. You should not take any option off the table. Sometimes you have to keep the opponent guessing as to what option you are going to use. We are dealing with a hard hairs government. Y'all can see that. I have been an activist since the 1970s under Burnham, under Hoyt, under Jagan, and come right through. But this present clique, this present government is a different kettle of fish. It does not have its equal anywhere in the English-speaking Caribbean, post-colonial Caribbean. And this is a region that has had its fair share of authoritarian and dictatorial rule. But this government is a different kettle of fish. And I'm not saying that to say because it's a different kettle of fish, then there should not be certain kinds of protests. I am saying because it's a different kettle of fish, all options have to remain on the table. And the teachers' actions, the teachers' strike, the teachers have shown, they demonstrated how tough this government, and when I say tough, not tough in a positive way, tough in a negative way. They are dictatorial, authoritarian, bullies. They're not giving an inch. And even when they are forced to give an inch, they're always looking to scamp the system. And so you're dealing with an unorthodox government. And you have to be unorthodox, as they are. Because you're not dealing with a government that you can say it is predicted that if you do this, it's a reasonable government, you're going to do that, and so on. Oh no. We are dealing with a different kettle of fish. We are dealing with some political brutes. And they're prepared to fight their opponents and not to give 1 inch. And if they're not going to give an inch, then the opposition, whether that opposition is in the form of the workers' organizations like unions or the form of political parties, we have to steel ourselves not to give an inch either. You can't fight. You can't fight brutes like you are an innocent insect. No. Brutes understand one thing, And that is that you have to respond to them. You have to respond to them. Of course, when you're fighting against the state, the government has all state power at its disposal. The army, the police, and so forth. And there is no doubt that the government is itching to have the soldiers and police turn their guns on people. They're itching for that. Because for them, they want to test the loyalty of the police and the army. So they're itching for a confrontation so that the police can and the army can turn their guns on black people. And the PPP wants that confrontation. So the opposition has to be very, very strategic in how they move. The teachers' union, like I said, they are leading the way. They're perhaps going to leave us with a blueprint of how to deal with this government. As you notice, the followers were on the left of the leadership, and they're pulling the leadership along. I am old enough to remember the days, even under Burnham, when workers would call strikes and the union would have to endorse the strikes. I notice a lot of you are here from Linden. You all know about those wildcat strikers, they call them, starting in the 1960s when Ascrea used to call strike in the bauxite industry and force the bauxite unions to endorse the strike. And that continued well into the 1980s. I remember 1983, during the food problems, food shortage. Mr. Leach, one bauxite worker, went to work one morning, didn't drink tea, as we say in Guyana, and he fall down, collapse, and the workers down tools. And they started the strike and forced the union to endorse the strike. In a sense, this is what we're seeing with the teachers here. The teachers instructed their unions to go on strike. Instructed their union to go on strike, and the union went to strike. And people can question the tactics of the leadership. But at the end of the day, those tactics have borne fruit. Out of the blues on Sunday, the Ministry of Education wrote to the Ministry of Labor asking for conciliation. That is what they should have done in the beginning. But they didn't want to do it until they were forced to do it. And this is where we are. Sister McDonald, Sister Corretta.
Hello.
Good evening. I am
Good
sorry to
evening.
impose on you at this late hour, but
That's fine. That's okay.
You know that the struggle is important. And yesterday and today, you all were in session. So take it from Sunday. On Sunday, the Ministry of Education wrote to the Ministry of Labor asking for conciliation. Walk us from Sunday to now. What has transpired?
Well, Dr. Hines, I want to thank you so much for having me here on this forum. You noticed this evening I had to do all kinds of magic to hook up here because I'm doing so many other things. But at the same time, it's never too much to give updates and to thank our parents and to thank our teachers and to thank everyone else for what they are doing. I want to say to us, first of all, to our viewers who are viewing us here, I want to first extend our sincerest condolences to the families of those teachers who lost their lives tragically. We had 2 teachers who lost their lives yesterday. And I want to say that while we are extending our sympathy, we can do so much in extending our condolences, so much in hugging and kissing them. But you know what? Those hugs and those kisses will not, and I repeat, will not replace their loved ones. And so I want to urge us to every day be kind to each other. May their souls rest in peace. Having said that, I want to take you through just where we went over the weekend. As you would know, over the weekend was Mother's Day weekend. And we were there on, like everything else, you were at home with your families. And in the midst of it all, there was a call. The Ministry of Labor, the Chief Labor Officer called, and he was relating that there was the Ministry of Education, the PS Education, who wrote him saying that there was a deadlock between the GTU and the Ministry of Education, that our talks have broken down, and they're asking for conciliation, for Labor to step in to provide conciliation. I want to say to us from the onset, this very conciliation process that we're about to begin, GTU asked for that last year. Last year, October, we wrote this same Chief Labor Officer asking for him to step in to conciliate this process because our talks would have broken down. Rather than responding to us, the Chief Labor Officer, and by extension the government, they ignored our letters. We wrote them again after the time would have elapsed, and we said to them, the period for conciliation has passed, and we are now asking that the arbitration process be activated. We were ignored then too. But surprisingly, after the Minister of Labor, the Minister of Education, the President, the Vice President, the whole host of them went on national television to say there was no breakdown in talks. They are talking. They are talking. There have been so many agreements met between the GTU and the Ministry of Education. Even some of what they did not ask for, they got. No breakdown in talks, so they don't know where GTU is heading with this. But lo and behold, Sunday afternoon, the communication received from the Ministry of Education, it agreed that we would have had a breakdown in talks. Mind you, the very same Chief Labor Officer who could not attend to our correspondence readily was available within hours to attend to a correspondence sent to him from the PS Ministry of Education. And I'm saying this to let you understand, some are more favored than some. I may be wrong, but you know what? It is a fact. When we look at the manner with which things have happened, the GTU wrote, nobody heeded us. No, as far as they were concerned, no talks would have been broken down. But when the Ministry of Education wrote their letter, it was agreed on that the talks would have broken down. And so readily, we agreed on Sunday night that we were going to attend that meeting on Monday. Because you know what? The GTU is serious about resolving this issue. We have recognized that many of our teachers are being deprived of their benefits. From yesterday, let me say from last week to yesterday, we've lost 4 teachers. These 4 teachers have toiled here for many years, giving unselfish service. And you know what? They are dead now without being able to receive the benefits that they fought for. They were on strike when we started in February, on February 5th, they were on strike. But you know what? Today, they cannot receive their benefits. And you want to say to us from the level of the government that we should not be upset about this? That is what the government is trying to tell us. They're trying to tell us that we should not have any emotions about what is happening. But let me say, we went there in good faith. We sat there and we were ready to begin the process. Now, this process, of course, we must have terms of resumption because it's the first thing the chief labor officer said to us. Remember, he is not interested in the welfare of the teachers. The Ministry of Education, they're not interested in the welfare of the teachers. All they are interested in is that the strike must come to an end. That's their bottom line. The strike must come to an end. Well, of course, you know, Dr. Hines, once bitten, twice thrice, many times more shy. And so we are not going to sign any blank check or any blank document without having anything tangible in our hands. And so we related to the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Labor through the Chief Labor Officer right there at the table. GTU is prepared to move the process forward. But we can only move this process forward if there is something tangible. We highlighted the fact that we cannot trust this process. We cannot trust anything that will come out of the mouths of the Ministry of Education because they sat with us before, they agreed on issues before, it was minuted, the minutes were signed, and then a couple of days after, they reneged on it. So we cannot trust anything that is coming out of their mouths. So what we want to see documentation, and we want to have their commitment with the documentation that is going to be tangible. And that will cause us to remove our teachers from the streets and have full resumption in schools. And so, of course, you know, it was a lot of bright boys and a lot of bright girls at the table. And so we're playing with words. We're playing with words. We're playing with words. Now, that in itself is saying to us that the ministry, again, they're not serious. What they want to do is to have us commit ourselves and to drag this process out. And I'm saying that because of these reasons. One, the Minister of Labor said they are prepared to move from 2024 onwards. But what are you prepared to move with? An empty basket. There is nothing on the table for us to see, well, this is what you're offering or this is what you're not offering. There's nothing there, just plain words. The head of state was there 2 or 3 weeks ago or a month ago, and he said, public servants can look forward to a best care package in 2027. I'm sure you remember that.
Yes, yes.
And then last week, was it last week or the week before? Not last weekend, the weekend before, at their Congress, he said, oh, public servants can look forward to a best care package in 2030. Now you tell me if that could be any serious government who every 2 minutes the goalpost is being shifted. You tell me if they're serious. They're not serious. All they want to do, like the folks on the streets would say, they want to game us. But GTU is not in for any gaming this time. We are about serious business. And so the chess, we will sit at the table and play chess. You know, yes, because, you know, to play chess, you have to be thinking, deep thinking before you make the moves. And so that's what we are going to do. We are not going to ink any empty document, because when we go out there to our members to say to them, we are resuming duty fully, the strike is off, and they ask us, well, what have we agreed to? What is there on the table for us? We must be able to say to them, we have A, we have agreed to A, and we are going to have B, and so the process will begin in 48 hours. Now, Dr. Hines, the GTU, like you would know, we have been very, very, very patient with this government. We have been very, very accommodating. We have been bending backward and forward, even to the detriment sometimes of our own members. We get cussed left, right, and center from our members. Even some of our parents join and they cuss us out. Because I remember the last time when we said, okay, the strike is off, parents were asking, well, what did you achieve? Why are you calling the strike off? Why can't you sit with them knowing how they operate? We're not going to go that way again. We're going to ensure that our teachers will benefit from the sacrifices that they have made. And when this entire process is completed, they stand to benefit even more. So today, yesterday, we played with words. We played with words. We changed this sentence. We changed this word. Add this word. They don't want this clause. They don't want that clause. And all, like again, all they're interested in is having this strike off. That's all they're interested in. And so they're saying to us, in the terms of reference, we must agree to end the strike and agree to come to the table to talk about 2024 onwards. Mind you, we had a document there since 2020. Now, the ministry is so bold-faced. They want to tell us now that we should throw that in a corner. Now, since 2020, we've been knocking at the doors. No opening of the doors. But you know what? My colleague, who's the president of GAU, also a member of parliament, he said just last May Day in an interview that in 2023, they were able to sign over 12 collective bargaining documents, and the GTU can't even have one signed yet. So you understand that this government is not a government of the people. This is a government for some of the people. And I want our viewers to understand, and I want to remind them, and for those who don't know, I want you to know, education is not a priority for this government. If it were, then they would have dealt with the situation in a different manner. As a matter of fact, we would not have been here in 2024 on the streets striking and arguing and battling and struggling to have our fair share and our fair day seated around the table. We would not have had to do that. This government is so bold-faced to say to us that they cannot talk about 2019 because they were not in government in 2019. Could you imagine that? And you know what? We had to let them understand that we did not sign any agreement with any political party. We signed our agreement with the government of Guyana. So whichever government go and whichever government come in, that government is responsible for whatever would have been signed. So don't tell me that you cannot deal with 2018, 2019 because you weren't there. And we had to highlight to them that when the coalition took office in 2015, the coalition had to undertake and fulfill the mandates that were left there, which were signed by the PPP government. One such is the debunching exercise. The coalition government had to find huge sums of monies to pay our teachers because that process was left halfway. The coalition government had to come in to fill the gap with regards to the duty-free concession. And so I don't know if you remember, but in 2017, we had 300 teachers receiving duty-free concessions as against the 100 that we usually receive. So it was 300 head teachers and deputies who were granted that amnesty. And you know why that happened? Because the PPP delayed the process. Now, the coalition government did not say to us they cannot do that because it was not in their time. They fulfilled that. And so to my friend Joseph Hamilton, let me say to you, sir, if you don't understand management, then you need to go back to school. Because if you understood management, and if you were indeed the Minister of Labor, you would understand and you would know that instead of taking a position, you should be neutral and you should be a mediator and you should stop making pronouncements. And it is for those reasons, Dr. Hines, that we cannot trust this entire process. Let me tell you what happened today. Today, while we were in the boardroom and we were battling to and fro, we got some statements coming from the boardroom. And one such statement was, oh, if y'all don't want to do this, to sign on to this process for us to begin the conciliation process, and you have your teachers out there on strike, the teachers will suffer. So we said, how are our teachers going to suffer? The teachers will suffer because the strike before, the judge pronounced on it already where their salaries could not have been cut. But this is a different strike. This is a new strike. So the teachers' salaries can be cut.
Wow.
Now, hold on. In less than 2 hours, the Minister of Education was saying the very same thing. This was coming from Labor, you know. What I said there came from Labor.
Came from Labor, yes.
2.5 hours or less, the minister was saying the very same thing. Tell me how we can trust that process. Let the viewers tell us how we can trust that process. So you see, rather than persons sitting there to be mediators or to be a mediator, they have already taken a position.
A position.
And so the GTU will continue to hold on to. We will not sign any willy-nilly document unless the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. We will not be signing any document. As a matter of fact, the GTU has gone so far to say, we have a proposal 2019-23. We are willing to alter our proposal and to remove at least 2 years from that proposal. Even that, the government is not willing to budge. We have said to the government, look, we can talk about, let's talk about our 2019-2023. And then we can probably, after we would have completed that, we can look at 2024 and onwards. Or we can put into and have consumed in the 2024 document our 2019-2023 document. Well, that's a big bugbear for them because, of course, you know, if the GTU puts up a proposal, they're asking for 50% in 1 year, the alarm will be sounded.
Oh, yes.
GTU is being very selfish. Look what they're asking for, 50%. But remember, they promised us that.
They promised 50%. Yes.
They promised us that. But if we were to do that now, then the whole world would know that GTU is selfish. Look what they're asking for. And if GTU were to receive something like that, what would happen to the other public servants? Well, I can tell you, while we are concerned about the state of the other public servants, as the executive of GTU, we have to be more concerned about our teachers. So that's why we are fighting for our teachers. We have encouraged other unions to come on board so that all of us can join the bandwagon and we can fight to represent our teachers, our members.
Members, yes.
So far, we've had commitments in writings and so on, statements being made, but we're not seeing persons joining us on the protest line. And so until such time, the GTU will have to bargain for its members. The GTU will have to struggle for its members. The GTU will have to stand up there and make its positions known that this is what we want to have, or this is what we want to see happen with our teachers.
Sister Corretta McDonald here this evening, bringing us up to date with what is taking place in the talks before the Ministry of Labor, the talks between the Ministry of Education and the GTU. So, Corretta, in effect, what you are telling us is that the terms of reference are still being worked out, the terms of resumption.
Yes. The
Yes.
terms of resumption are still being worked out. What I can say to you is that the ministry, they don't want to see or hear anything about 2019, 2023.
And
Now,
all
if
they're
we're going to
interested
look
in
at
is
2024,
2024, but they have not put anything concrete on about 2024.
nope, nothing.
So
And
they
that's
want you all,
what
they
I'm
want you all
saying.
by picking
We
back.
submitted a proposal to you. We submitted a proposal to you. We expect you to send us a counter. Now, if your counter is 2020 counter, then there is something that we can look at. But there is absolutely nothing. And I know, I was amazed today when I heard that, a proposal does not have to be written. A proposal does not, you don't have to say anything. When you get to the actual table, but we know where these folks can go, and we know how they can behave. And as a result, we are not prepared to take any chance going that way.
So the strike continues.
The strike, Dr. Hines, what the Ministry of Education is doing, what the government of the day is doing, they don't recognize that they are causing our teachers to be even more resolute and resilient. Today and yesterday, I was amazed to see our teachers from Mbamadai, our teachers way out in Kako, our teachers out there in Warramadang, our teachers out there in Maruka. They're all on the streets with their protests, with their placards, and they are standing in solidarity with their union. And, when we see our teachers in the hinterland and deep hinterland, when we see them taking that stand, it can only encourage us to keep the fight. That's all it can do, encourage us to keep the fight. And we will continue to do so.
The media reported that on the first 2 days of the strike, Thursday and Friday, there was a 60% turnout. Is that accurate? And if so, has it improved in the last 2 days?
Well, the media, and it depends on which media you're hearing that from. What they will do. And so even if they're saying that our strike action was 60%, 60 out of 100 is great. 60 is greater than 40. So we have made an impact. But I can tell you that the percentage we had yesterday from the reports we got coming into our schools, it was just over 70.
Just over 70%.
But even if the media is saying, and it's 60. Again, who is saying 60? 60 is still greater than 40. So in some instances, there were schools with no teacher in attendance.
Yes.
And of course, when they say the 60, many times they are counting if there are 2 teachers or 3 teachers in a school. That's a big thing for them. But it's not a big thing for us, because we know that at any point, we're not going to have 100% in some instances. And so if you have a staff of 8 and 5 are out on the streets and 3 are there, then you see that how you want to see it. But, we have been hearing some rumors that we will have to go out there and verify. And let me remind us of the Congress 2 weekends ago.
Mm-hmm.
There was a skit that was portrayed there.
Yes.
And a young lady who was a teacher just the other day, she was a teacher just the other day. She was on the picket line with us in 2018. But just after the 2020 elections, when the government was installed, she was made deputy permanent secretary, admin, something to that effect. And so she has a different position now. She was one of the persons being portrayed in that skit, and she said, you know, while I was there with them, out there with them with my Judah self, I done went and collect my duty free, done went collect my duty free, and I'm gonna buy my car or about to buy my car, something to that effect, she said. And then there was another one who said, me, I was out there, but I don't collect my land. We are hearing rumors that teachers in certain sections of this country, they are being written to, or they were written to and told not to go out on the strike because we are going to offer you other benefits. And some of them have received the letters from the Ministry of Housing asking them to go into the Ministry of Housing so that they can acquire plots of land. We have to verify that one. And so this is what this government is doing. They're out there to do union busting, to divide and rule, and to create conflicts amongst our members. And I want to say to our members, if they come to you and offer you lands, and mind you, the lands are not given free, they have to pay for it. Yes. But if they come to you with those offers and you have the monies to make the purchase, take it. But understand where your solidarity lies. Your solidarity lies with your union. So when they come, you take it. But come on the streets and stand up with your colleagues. Stay at home when we have those days for staying at home. But this is what is happening in some areas. And the fact is, Dr. Hines, in sectors where you have predominantly East Indian workers, the government is more, they are more accommodating there, and they're making the offers in those sectors. So with the sugar sector, we see as soon as the cane cutters come out there and they make some noise, quick time, the government is ready to heed their call. But in the teaching sector and in the public service sector, where you have predominantly Afro-Guyanese there, the ball game is a totally different ball game. And this kind of nonsense must stop. You cannot talk about one Guyana and some persons are being treated differently to others. You cannot talk about you're the government of the day and you see some citizens as first-class citizens and others as second-class citizens. All citizens of this country must be treated equally. You know, teachers have done so much for this country. We have sacrificed our families on many, many instances. In many, many cases, teachers have
We have lost your audio. We're not hearing you, Corretta. We're still not hearing you. We're not hearing you. Seem to be having some audio issues there with Corretta McDonald. Let's hope that she is able to sort that out. She is sorting it out as we speak, bringing us up to date with what is happening. You see the game plan of the government. They've agreed under pressure to go to conciliation. But having gone to conciliation, they're trying to game the union. They're trying to trick the union. And this time the union is clear. They are not going to be tricked. They are not going to be tricked. So Corretta is having some issues. She'll come back in a second. As she updates us in what's happening there with the teachers. Thank those of you who tuned in earlier to an earlier edition of Politics 101. an interview I did on the weekend, a radio interview in Baltimore, and some of you were able to tune into that earlier in the evening. Thank you all for in an impromptu way, tuning into the program. And from time to time, we'll have those programs, and you all can always go back. And I think Corretta is back with us. I think she's back with us. Corretta, are you hearing me? We have seen you, but we're not hearing you. We have seen you, but we're not hearing you. Corretta seems to be having some problems there. She seemed to be having some audio problems there. We have seen her, but the audio is not coming through. But the teachers union, they have to be strong, and the teachers are keeping them strong. Last night we had the opposition leader on. Some of you did not, his views, especially his views on street protests, did not go down well with some of you. He will be back here next week. Next week he'll be back. And I am thinking about opening the phones next week. We'll work that out. But we certainly will be taking some of your questions for Mr. Norton next week. So the conversation continues. I have invited Roysdale Ford, who is vying for the leadership of the PNC. We have invited him to come on to the program. Chogda's song is one of his songs. A minister buy Rolls Royce, but ordinary man can buy bike. Yes, right. Chogda's. I think Corretta is back. She's
Hines?
Yes, I'm hearing you now. Yes.
Okay. Good. I just had to switch devices. These things kind of happen all the time when you're trying to get the information out. They do all sorts of things so that you can't get the information out there. But you know what?
Yes, go ahead.
I am not hearing you now.
You're not hearing me now.
Okay, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you now. Good. So, like I was saying, the ministry expects us to just stand there with our hands down and accept everything that they want to do. As a matter of fact, let me say they're trying to bully the process. And today I had to comment to say that the ministry seem to want to bully this process because they're getting support from other government agencies and they think they can bully us. But we will not take any form of bullying, none whatsoever. We will not accept. And so we're there now. The ministry threw out a couple of clauses for the terms of resumption. We did not agree with them because they don't want to have in the document 2019-2023. I had to remind them that that is the same document that was used in court as evidence. That is the very document that we were arguing for. And so why is it that you don't want to have this document being mentioned in the terms of resumption? They don't want to have that. And I can tell you, they're being aided and abetted by the Ministry of Labor. I have no apologies for saying that.
Yes.
Because of the fact that the Minister of Labor, he came out there and made bold statements. So there is nothing else that I can say but to say we have no faith in the Ministry of Labor conducting this process unless we hear zero utterances coming from the Minister of Labor while he is at his interviews. I mean, how can you, as the Minister of Labor, who is supposed to be the mediator, making public pronouncements on an issue, even before we got to the stage of mediation. So if that is happening, it is saying clearly that you're not prepared to do anything. And we've already suspected what they want to do. They want us to return to schools because, one, when we returned to school on the last occasion, the pupils were able to write their grade 6 examinations.
Yes.
They were well prepared and taken to almost the door, let me say that, so they could have written their examinations. The students who are writing CXE, they too were able to have their grades submitted way before the deadline. And you notice how committed our teachers are. The ministry did not have to ask for an extended deadline. Our teachers worked around the clock to ensure that those grades were submitted, to ensure that those SBAs that were not completed, that they were completed, they were marked, and they had their grades there. This time around, the Ministry of Education, well, they thought after they would have completed the writing of the grade 6 exams and our CSEC and CAPE is going on during this, being written during this period, they felt that they would have achieved. Forgetting that this is the final term for the school year, and at the end or almost to the end of this term, we usually have our end of year exams. They forgot that part.
Mm-hmm.
And so they felt they could have played us out. And even if we decided that we were going to strike, it would not have bothered them so much. But you know what they're coming to recognize now? And that is why they're so bent on wanting the strike to be called off. They're recognizing now that there are a number of things that has got to happen before the closure of schools. One, we have the cash grant that they will want the teachers to distribute. The big cash grant, they want that to come on board. That is going to be in limbo, so they're running helter-skelter. Two, they forgot that it is this term where students and pupils and other learners have to collect their report cards so that their parents will see what they would have been doing during this school year. They forget that part of it. So they recognize now that parents will hammer them for not having their children write the end of year exams and having their report booklets. Mm-hmm. They also forgot that this is the term where you're going to do promotion from one grade to another grade. They also forgot that it is during this very term and after this term that our 6th graders are going to be going into 7th grade. So the primary 6th graders are going to be moving on to secondary schools. And you have to have the registration process. So you see, while they were jumping for joy on one end, thinking that we got them there, they didn't know that a bigger lashback, let me call it that, was coming for them. And so we have said to them in no uncertain terms, unless you are prepared to come to us, not with a basket for us to fetch water, but unless you're prepared to come to us with something that is tangible, that we can use as a safety net, we will not be budging. So that's where we are at this point. That's where we are. So we left that meeting yesterday. Of course, I know that they were very, very disappointed and agitated today because the GTU came with a real hardball today. As a matter of fact, we came with a prepared document that we call our new terms of reference for the resumption of duties. In that document, we had there the 3 issues that we agreed on the day before, but we added 7 others to that list. And that had them going helter-skelter. And you see, they think that we don't understand all the politics that they play, you know? This teacher's struggle is a struggle for survival. The government has made it a political one, not the teachers. Not Corretta McDonald. The government has made it a political one. And so they feel that they can come with their dancing, their political tunes and their political associations to what folks would say in the country areas, to bank us, to double bank us. But they did not recognize that we're the teachers and we're the ones who would arrive at the strategies. So our strategies this afternoon confused them. And so they're very agitated. But hopefully we return there on Monday to see how far we're going to get with the process.
So the next meeting is set for Monday.
The next meeting is set for Monday. Today our teachers were dressed in yellow all across this country, except for Linden, where our teachers were adorned in black because of the tragedy that we had here yesterday. Coming next week, our teachers are going to be on the streets for 3 days. We will inform the public of the colors that we are going to be using for those 3 days and the 3 days that we will be using for next week. But I want to continually thank our teachers for being alert, for their continued diligence, for being continuously supportive and being resolved, understanding fully well that this is not a political issue, but this is a bread and butter issue.
It's a bread and butter issue that has deep political consequences for those who govern, because they're showing their political petticoats and other underwear that they wear. Corretta, the government, you reported here tonight, the government is doing something dangerous. That it is saying that the ruling by the judge only goes for the strike that was here earlier and not. And I'm saying it's dangerous because any person with a rudimentary understanding of how the law works knows that when the court makes a ruling, unless the court overturns that ruling stands as precedence. And so in trying to say to teachers that if you all come out now, we can still take out your almond because what the court ruled on was only for that strike. They are trying to frighten teachers away from going on strike. And I want to say here clearly, they are lying. They are lying. The court's ruling can only be overturned in the first place if the parliament were to go and pass a law. But parliaments don't pass laws when the court rule on matters like these because it will have to go back before the court. All right. So when the court makes a ruling, until the court overturns itself, that stands. All right. Corretta, you want to endorse what I say and say it in your own way?
Well, you know, our teachers are very intelligent and our teachers understand that the ruling of the judge stands. As a matter of fact, we are right now, I think our attorneys might have already done that. We're approaching the court again because from the time of that ruling, the ministry has not made any effort to restore the deductions of the Jews.
There you go.
And they're saying all kinds of antics they're doing. That was one of the issues that we threw on the table yesterday, where we said to them, look, if you're talking about good faith, reinstate the deduction of the Jews. You can't talk about good faith because you know a word. If you want to show good faith, reinstate the Jews, the deduction of the Jews. Not even that they're prepared to do. So it means that their mandate is to mash and crush the union and to ensure that they always have their way. But in democratic and modernized societies like these, you know, the Minister of Education, she likes to use those words. And so I'm going to use them right back at her. In modernized and democratic societies like Guyana, we understand how the rule of law operates. We understand that persons have a right to say what pleases them and what doesn't please them. We understand that teachers have a right to go out there, like Barajagio said in 2018, the teachers have a right to strike, and their strike is illegal. So in 2024, The strike cannot be illegal because the conditions we fought for in 2018 are the very conditions we're fighting for in 2024. So it cannot be illegal now. And so, teachers, I want to continue to assure you that your leaders will continue to stand out there and battle at the table for you. When we battle out there at the table for you, we expect to get your support when we walk out of those rooms. We expect to get your support when we see your reporting coming into us with regards to what the strike action was in the different areas. I want to thank you so much because you've been doing that very, very effectively. And I know that those numbers are causing the ministry officials, the Ministry of Education officials, to tremble. It is also causing the Ministry of Labor officials to tremble. It is causing the government of the day to tremble. And if they start trembling yet, come next week, they're gonna catch the flu, and they can catch the what do you call this when you're trembling? Oh boy, I can't remember the name right now. But if they start catching it yet, they can catch it very soon. Because we will not rest until the business is correct. We are going to engage every single international agency, international development bank, everywhere that this government is borrowing monies from, we are going to engage them. We are going to let our plight be known out there. So all these monies that the education ministry getting to fund the feeding programs, to fund this, to fund that, to fund the other, we will engage them. We will let them understand the plight of our teachers, what the government is doing, the days when schools have not been held, so they can't send you bogus reports to tell you that this happened and that happened because there was no school in session then. We will engage them. You know, we don't want to be in a fight with any government. But if you are not doing the right things, then as trade union leaders, we have to stand and guard the rights of our members, because that is enshrined in the laws of the ILO convention.
The laws of the ILO convention. Vashti is saying when you tremble, it's ague fever.
Ague, that's the thing. That's the thing.
I love this audience. They're bright. They don't miss it. Sometimes when a word don't come to me within second, get it. Corretta, so you said next week the teachers will be coming on the road for 3 weeks. You will advise
3 days. 3 days.
For 3 days, sorry. You'll advise accordingly. For the rest of this week, what's happening? Teachers
are going to be at home for the rest of the week. Teachers will take the time off to go get a massage, spend some more time with their children, do some revision and those kinds of things. You know, teachers will assist their children. Spend the time that you have not been able to spend with your children. They are going to do that tomorrow. They're going to be able to go to the market and relax and you know, do some shopping, get some fresh fruits, take their children out for a walk in the evening. Yes, teachers will have that kind of time to do that while they're going to be tuned into their union for the updates with regards to what will be happening for the rest of the week. But I can tell you, on Thursday, we are going to be having a day of prayer all across the country. Our teachers are going to be engaged in a day of prayer on Thursday. On Friday is the day when we are going to be doing the hashtags on our Facebook pages, on our WhatsApp status. Friday is the day that we are going to be doing that. So every day for the week, we are going to be having an activity that our teachers are going to be part of. And I want to encourage our parents, I want to encourage the very viewers we are having here to join our teachers on Thursday for the day of prayer. Wherever you are, we are going to give you the timings. We are starting at 6 o'clock in the morning. So those of us who are early risers and you pray at 6, offer prayer for our teachers. If you have your prayer groups, offer prayers for our teachers, offer prayers for this nation, because, you know, It is saddening our hearts as teachers, because what is happening here is not only affecting the teachers, but it's affecting our third, fourth, second, first, fifth. So many generations are going to be affected with what is happening here. It is also affecting the lives of many, many families who don't have little children in their families. The minibus operators are being affected, because if during the day you were accustomed to making 5 round trips, you can only make 3 because the children are not at school, the teachers are not at school. The boat operators are being affected. The school canteen operators are being affected. So many other persons are being affected. The folks with their little vending carts on the streets are being affected. And this government is just heartless, because they don't care about the lives that are being affected with the nonsense that they are doing. But I want to say to you, parents, the GTU is in no fight with you. The GTU is in no fight with your children. We have nothing against you or your child or your children. We have a struggle with the government, and we're asking that you join us so that we can combine forces to get this government to understand that teachers are important. You know, just before coming on to this program, a teacher sent me a little video that a parent made, and it's making its ways around the social media. And the parent is saying, "What wrong with this government? Look, I want you come pay the teachers that deserve it. I'm tired with these children at home that they're home too long. Let the teachers get their money. They deserve it. Government, and you're too wicked." Now, if one parent is saying that, then you can imagine what many, many, many parents are saying. You see, many times we don't understand the value of something until we lose it. And so parents now are understanding the real value of teachers, because you know what? Teachers spend more time with the children than their parents do with them, especially for those who have working parents. Teachers spend 5 hours with the children. When they get home in the afternoons, mommy come in at 5 o'clock, mommy come in at 6 o'clock, and from 6 to maybe 8 or so, you interact with them, and then they go to sleep. In the mornings, after 2 hours or so, they're off to school. And so you are not a parent, like the mother is saying, "I can't deal with them at home. Come and let the teachers collect them, let them go to school." I'm hoping that many more parents will come out in support of us as teachers and let the government understand that we want our children in school. As we speak, my child is at home. My child is at home. And he's being supervised. And so I don't have to worry when I'm on the streets. But what about those parents who cannot afford to have somebody or somewhere to send their child or their children so that they can be well supervised? What is happening with those parents? And this is the government that preaches because we care. Well, I think somebody is forgetting something. It is because we don't care, because they don't care. Because if they were concerned about our children and about our children's future, then they would want to settle the score with our teachers. But I can safely say to you, Dr. Hines and your viewers, that the government will not be concerned about the ordinary man's child or children, because their children are attending private schools. So when the public schools teachers don't turn up, it doesn't affect their children, because whose child is not at Success Elementary is at Marion's Academy, is at Nations, is at Mays, is somewhere, Jocel, somewhere at some private school. So they have no concern for the ordinary man who cannot afford to send his child or his children to a private school.
Send his children to private school. Good evening to all of you. My sister, Pat Francis, I haven't seen or heard from you in a long while. Pat, of course, is active at the University of Miami, and she's saying the UG Union stand with the teachers union.
Thank you.
It's good to hear from you, Sister Pat, and I hope to catch up with you. I know you continue to do good work on all areas. Corretta, always good to have you. Always a pleasure. You bring perspective, and you bring a perspective that I am familiar with, and that is the perspective of the leader who is in touch with the follower. I always say, when people say, Guyanese people are going on the road and blah, 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 I always say what it takes for action is when the followers and the leaders are in sync.
Yep.
It's that. And the teachers, I look at those teachers, I speak to teachers all the time, and their communion, and I'm using a spiritual term here, their communion with you is part of the struggle. Though there are other leaders of the trade union, there are other leaders of the GTU, but there's always one or two leaders who, by share what, let me say it this way, it's okay for followers to give off a certain vibe, but the leaders have to have the capacity to absorb the energy of the followers. My sister, I love you bad.
Thank you.
As we say on this program. And I know you're going to have a busy week because I'm sure you'll have to go out of town, probably go to the Essequibo.
Of course.
They're really doing it there on the Essequibo.
On the Essequibo coast. Yes. Dr. Hines, I want to say shout out to my brother, Martin Samaru. We have Durga, Takurdin Durga, and all the sisters out there. They have been keeping it live out there on the Essequibo coast. My brother Raj out there in Maruka, and my brother Joseph out there in Bartica. They have been keeping it real. We also have my brother Imran Ali, who has been very, very outspoken in region number 6. I want to shout him out, and you know why I want to shout him out especially? Because those who know, he is a member of the PPP, but you know what? He is standing up for what is right. And because he is standing for what is right, he has become a target also. They have fabricated all sorts of things about him last week because he is standing up and fighting for the right. You see, this is what the PPP are about. As long as you cannot sing the same song with them when it's right or wrong, they mark you. And that's the problem that they have with Corretta McDonald. Corretta McDonald is not a yes person. Corretta McDonald will not stand and allow you to pull wool over my face. And so if you notice, they have moved our strike from being a struggle to being a political one and a personal one. And so every turn you make, you hear Corretta McDonald. Well, let me say to them, Corretta McDonald will continue to fight for teachers and workers across this country. That's my gift. And whether you are flying high or you're flying in between, I will call you out when you do the wrong things. And for those who would remember in 2018, Corretta McDonald was out there. And I will do no different onwards. I will continue to fight. And so the PPP now, they're devising some ways. You just woke up this little lioness in me. They are finding ways to say to our teachers, don't bother with Corretta. It is Corretta that is causing y'all not to get the increases. It is Corretta that is causing y'all not to get these increases. Well, I have good news for you. Because if one woman can cause an entire government to freeze and stand still, then y'all got problems. Big problems you got if one woman can do that. And I want our teachers to understand, the PPP must not direct the show of the GTU. They must not tell you who you should vote for and who you should not vote for. We have a constitution. We cannot tell the PPP that Jagdeo must not be their general secretary and that Jagdeo must not be their spokesperson. They decide who they want. So tell them, the person who is fighting for us, for you and for all of us is the person who we will nominate, and that's the person who we will vote for. Remind the Jackview and his crew that the GTU has a democratic process, not a hand-picked process. We have a democratic process where an entire elections commission is employed through the process of advertising our vacancy notice there, and the persons apply to become the elections officers. So we have a democratic process where teachers all across this country are sent their ballots and they vote, and their ballots are returned to that elections commission, not a fraudulent one. So when we elect our leaders, they are well elected. So Corretta McDonald will always be there.
Will always be there. Corretta, thank you very much, my sister. Go get some rest. And next week, around the same time, will be a good enough time to come back for an update.
Sure.
Thank you very much, and stay
safe.
Thank
you, Dr. Hines. And
stay safe and stay as fiery as you can. Thank you. And thank you all. Big numbers tonight, big numbers last night. We get in there, you know, we get in there with the ratings. We can't walk on one foot. One fiery woman means that we must go out with another fiery woman. Let's go.
When I say tonight, Lord, like somebody dead, because this old lady, she ain't living with nobody. I jump from the house and it start falling like a crazy mouse. And if you hear she fire, fire, baby, wire, wire, fire, fire, make that call to be so. Oh, I'm a job, it goes slow. Fire, fire. Well, we never run sing. He came running. She thought it was a joke because we didn't see no smoke. She bought for murder and sin. Where is your lady? One really goes and get for the water to hook. Fire, fire, it's the wire, fire, fire, fire,
Fire, fire, Calypso Rose. It's, you know, Calypso Rose tonight. Fire, inch wire. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for staying with me. And then I come back tomorrow night at 7 o'clock when we continue to keep it real. We continue to keep it real. They're not stopping us. They're not stopping us because we're coming down the road. We're coming down the road. And when we're coming down the road, they know that we mean business. Say good night to Sherrod. A little bit you're going to catch of him. And then say good night to Mark. And tomorrow morning, I will be on the Buxtonian morning time. It's Wednesday morning. Yes, I'll be on there tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow night, I will be back here. Stay up. Stay up.